Hello and welcome to a new video. My name is Amber and today I've got a bit of an art haul to show you. And the reason I called it an unintentional art haul is because it was a bit unintentional actually, and I got by a few deals on Amazon. So I did want to start off with what this video was originally supposed to just be about, and that is these new paints from the brand MeiLiang or MeiLiang. I was contacted by a company called Lightwish and they said that they would like to send me some of these paints and a sketchbook to review and send them back some feedback. And I thought I would make this video about them, and then because they were in tubes I quite fancied buying a nice little palette so I could store the paints in, and then that is how this unintentional art haul was born, because as I said, I got by a few deals on Amazon and also chucked a few other paints in my basket as well. So I'm looking forward to showing you everything that I bought and also swatch these paints and tell you a little bit about them at the end of the video. So there's me just browsing online for a nice watercolour palette to put my new paints in, and then these books happen to show up, which I've had my eye on for a while, and also the Kuretake granulating paint showed up, which I had my eye on for a while. I may or may not have searched for these items. But you know how Amazon knows what to show you and at the exact right time as well. When I'm obviously adding a few bits to my basket, it's like, oh, but what about this and what about that? And it seems Amazon knew that I had just taken on a commission and had a little bit of money aside for buying myself a few little art supplies. So this is what happened, and let's start off with the Kuretake Granulating Watercolours. So I'm not going to swatch these paints in this video or talk too much about them, because I have a really lovely video where I swatch them and tell you all about these paints in a few weeks' time. So here's a little snippet of that. I took my doggies on a lovely autumnal walk and we collected some leaves, and then I thought I would draw the leaves and swatch these paints within the shapes of the leaves, and that was a lot of fun. So I can't wait to show you that video soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see it. But for now, these watercolours are part of the Kuretake Gansai Tambi range, and also in my last video I reviewed and did a painting with their big 48 set of watercolours, so I'm obviously obsessed with the Gansai Tambi paints, to be honest. And when I saw that they had the granulating colours, even though there's only 5 colours, I couldn't wait to get my hands on them. Next up is 2 absolutely beautiful books by the artist Inga Buividavice. I know I'm not getting that right, her name, but you can see it there. I feel like in every single video on this YouTube channel, at least once, I struggle to pronounce something, so I'm sorry you have to listen to that every time. These 2 books, from front to back cover, are just so beautiful and inspiring. This first one is called Painting Calm, Connect to Nature Through the Art of Watercolour. And it's all about just connecting to nature and to yourself and to your intuition through the art of botanical watercolour painting. And it's just so insightful all the way through. For one thing, there's just endless pictures of Inga's art, and she tells you a little bit about her journey in there and style. There's a really great bit on style and how to experiment and find your own style. There's so many lovely projects for you to try yourself within the pages of this book, and it's all very seasonal as well. So there's lots of like spring, summer, autumn and winter projects for you to try. There's also a bit about sketchbooks in here and colour theory, and I really love art books, and I really think these 2 books are 2 of the best that I own. I think they are just absolutely wonderful and so inspiring, and if I had written and made these books I would just be so proud of them. They are fabulous. I would like to make a YouTube series where I do some projects in art books and do a flip through and a sort of review of some of the art books that I own, and make a series out of it on YouTube, because I love books. I say it in a lot of my videos. I like sketchbooks, novels, art books, all of it, and I think it would be fun to include some art book videos on the channel. But I don't just want to flick through the books and tell you about them that way. I also want to do a few of the projects in there as well, so I think that would be a fun little series. This one is called Wild Watercolour: Connect to the Natural World Through the Art of Painting. So it's all very natural, it's all watercolour again. She does use some mixed media like pencils and some gouache, I think, in some of these paintings, but again, in this book, there is just so many different projects, and like these 2 pages, she doesn't just show you how to draw, sketch and paint the animals. She also talks a bit about the habitats that you can paint around the animals. There's a few pages about sketchbooks again in this one, and there's just so many different techniques to try. I feel like these are real, not necessarily just art books, but just inspiring books to have around. You know, if you're feeling a bit uninspired, then to have these around and to see the amount of pictures of Inga's art in the pages, it's just these are really special, and I got the Wild Watercolour for £8 on Amazon because it was on offer, and then the other one, the Painting Calm, was 12, so I just couldn't resist. I was only going to buy the Wild Watercolour, and then I thought, well, I did take on that commission to buy myself some treats, so that's what I did. So this next item is what I originally went on Amazon for before I got a bit carried away with myself. It's a Meeden 33 well watercolour palette, and I always see people using, I don't know what the name of it is, but you can get on Amazon like a plastic palette, and you can put the watercolours all the way around the edge, and then it's like an airtight lid, and it's got lots of mixing space all the way around. But I think actually they are around 18 wells. I think you can get a 24 well one, but I couldn't get that on my Amazon here in the UK. So I went for this 33 well Meeden airtight watercolour palette, and it's really good actually. I didn't expect it to be so good. It's quite big. I do measure it in a moment when I start putting my paints in to show you, but you can see it's got this little palette that pops out, so you get extra mixing space, and that does fit back in quite nice and tight actually, so it won't just fall out. The entire palette does feel quite sturdy actually. It's so large I definitely wouldn't call it a travel palette, and the other thing is when you close it, it is airtight because I've put my paints in over a week ago, and I checked them today and they're still pretty wet actually, so it obviously does what it says. But when you close it, the clasp doesn't feel like it's super tight, so you wouldn't think it would be airtight, but it obviously is, because I don't know, watercolours would usually dry out after a week, wouldn't they? But they're still pretty wet. Now, as for the watercolours and the sketchbook that I was sent. So, as I said in the beginning, I was contacted by a company called Lightwish, and they obviously sell different brands of watercolours and other art supplies. So they sell the MeiLiang, or I don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but MeiLiang watercolour paints, which are student grade watercolour paint. They also sell the Rubens products as well. So I'm not exactly sure how it all works, but all I know is the company Lightwish messaged me and asked if I would like to receive some of their new products and review them on my YouTube channel, and also send them back some feedback. And I thought, why not? I'm definitely experimenting a lot at the moment with my YouTube channel, and also with where I want to take this little art business of mine. And I always thought that I would love to receive lots of art supplies and review them on a YouTube channel. And yeah, I think that's where I want to go, but I'm not entirely sure yet. So I thought I would just try it out and take on these products and play with them and see how I feel about it. So this will be an honest review, just like the Artex review that I did a few videos back. I was also sent those Artex acrylic markers, and so yeah, I just want all the companies that sort of send me stuff to know that I will only do honest reviews, because I do definitely value your time and your money. And I don't know, it kind of feels like things are getting a little bit real for me now, that I'm having actual companies reach out to me about sending me stuff to review, and it feels really good, but also a little bit scary at the same time, because I know that some artists get ripped apart online for receiving these products and talking about them, and I don't really want that to be me. But also I'm just gonna stay true to myself and what I want to do until I don't know, I'll just see how I feel about it. So this is where we're at. And I'm happy at the moment, because who wouldn't want to be sent lots of lovely art supplies to make videos about? To me, it kind of feels like the dream at the moment, and it's what I really want to do. And I'm not quite monetized yet here on YouTube, but I'm so close, and I really do want to make something out of this. So now I feel like I'm explaining myself when I don't really need to, but you know, the internet can be quite scary sometimes, and making these sorts of videos does worry me a little bit, because I'm the sort of person who gets upset over my one dislike on one of my videos. Even though most, like, every comment, everything on my YouTube so far is so positive, I'm like, but why has that one person disliked my one video? Anyway, let's get to the actual art supplies, shall we? So Lightwish also sent me these two Paul Rubens concertina style or organ style sketchbooks. They're quite small, like around 5.8 by 4.1 inches, and they are 300 GSM cold pressed 50% cotton paper. It says on that little gold tag cotton, but on the Amazon listing it says 50% cotton. So it gives you a lot more information about these sketchbooks on the Amazon listing than it actually does on the actual sketchbook itself. So let's put this palette, sketchbook and paints into practice. And I said I would measure the palette. It comes out at 12 inches by 12 inches. Once it's opened, it's pretty square. And then when it's closed, obviously it's half of that. So when it's closed, it's 12 by 6 inches, maths. And yeah, so when it's open, it does take up quite a bit of space on your desk. But yeah, you can see how big it is compared to just the tubes of watercolours. And these colours are 12mm tubes, so a really nice size. You get lots of paint in each tube. So I watch a lot of the Frugal Crafters videos on YouTube. Her name is Lindsay, and she makes wonderful videos where she reviews lots and lots of products, and I've often heard her talk about the MeiLiang or Pretty Excellent watercolours. So when I was approached about having a look at this new set of tube colours from MeiLiang, I was obviously very excited, because it's like, oh, I've watched the Frugal Crafters videos, and she often talks about these colours in high regards, because she thinks they are a really good student grade paint and really good for beginners. And honestly, oh look, picking a nacho hair out of my paints already. My little chihuahua, his hairs get absolutely everywhere. I'm telling you, there is nacho hairs all over the world by now. But a lot of the watercolours that I own right now are pretty good brands and more professional quality. So I've got some Daniel Smith colours, and I really like the White Nights watercolours. I'm not sure if you would call those really professional artist quality, but I really like them and I think they work really well. And just recently I've been using the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, watercolours as well. And actually these new MeiLiang paints feel quite similar to those to me when I actually started swatching them. But what I'm saying is, I don't think I have really any student grade watercolours. So I was quite excited to get these and just to see what they're like for myself and test them out, and perhaps I can use them in my sort of watercolour sketches in my sketchbooks for quick and vibrant sketches, because I could tell you one thing, these paints are so vibrant. I can't wait to show you the swatches, because there is 24 tubes in this set and they are just so vibrant, and that's why they remind me as well a lot of the Gansai Tambi paints. I haven't come across paints quite as vibrant as that before until I tried these, so that was quite exciting. I don't know about you, but one of my favourite things to do is swatch paints out. I feel like I could probably swatch paints all day and be quite satisfied. I think that's probably because you don't really have to think about much, do you? You just have to put the colour on the paper and see how it looks and what happens, and I don't know, it's always a nice surprise, I suppose, especially when swatching lovely granulating colours. Now, these colours are not very granulating, but the paper does really help to bring out the colour, in my opinion. I really love a cold pressed paper anyways. I love texture of all kinds, and I think that swatching your paints on cold pressed paper really helps bring them to life. I prefer working on cold pressed paper for everything, actually. Even when I used to work with coloured pencils, just primarily coloured pencils, I would prefer a paper that was really textured, or like pastel matte. I don't know if you've heard of pastel matte, but either pastel matte, or I do enjoy working on a cold pressed paper as well, which is really unusual for coloured pencil artists. What do you prefer? Do you like working on a cold pressed or rough textured paper, or even just a hot pressed smooth paper? I know that each and every paper has its place, of course, so I'd love to know what do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. So I'll talk a little bit about the actual watercolours again for a moment, and as you can see, the colours are lovely. They're so vibrant, and I really love how they flow on the paper. I'll show you at the end of the video, when all the swatches are dry, that I talked about this in my last video with the Japanese Gansai paints. When a paint has a little bit too much binder in it, then they can dry to be a bit shiny in areas, and I did notice that quite a lot with a few of the colours in this range. So I think that might just be where they're a bit more of a cheaper paint. Perhaps they have a little bit more binder in them than actual pigment, but then the pigment is fabulous. It's so vibrant, so that's just something to be aware of. But I loved how the paints flowed, and I won't do any mixing tests or anything in this video. I'm going to do another one soon where I play a little bit more with the paints and mix them and blend them together and try a few different techniques out, you know, like watercolour techniques, wet on wet, things like that. Now, even though I absolutely love watercolours and they're probably my favourite kind of medium to use as an artist, I don't really know a lot about pigments and pigment information and things like that. So when I was swatching these paints out, I thought I'd take the opportunity to sort of learn myself a little bit more about the pigments. I've never really thought about it before because, well, all my art, I suppose, has been for me, and I know whether something's light fast or not, but I don't really know about certain pigments. So I thought, while I'm reviewing these paints, it would be nice if I could share with you as much information as possible. So when the swatches were all dry, I went through all the tubes and I wrote down all the pigment information underneath all of my swatches and the light fastness information as well. And I also Googled the different pigments at the same time. And while a lot of the colours seem to be quite accurate, there are a few colours in this set that do not seem to be accurate to the information provided. And I don't know whether it's a translation issue, because obviously the paints have, well, the packaging is all in Chinese and the English part is just translated, and sometimes the translation from Chinese to English is really bad. So I don't know whether it's just like a translation issue, but it also says it on the Amazon page as well. For instance, that the magenta colour, the really bright and vibrant magenta colour, it says that that was made with PR32. And when I've done my research on it, that pigment is more of a naphthalene, like a warm red pigment, and apparently, according to my research, you can't make a magenta out of PR32. So, like I said, I don't know whether it's just a translation issue, but there's another colour as well that made me think, and I did put a little question mark in my swatches at the end, but the phthalo blue, so that says it's made with PG15, but it should be PB15 because PG15 makes a chrome green and PB15 is what would make a phthalo blue. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that does make me question whether what is said about these paints is completely accurate. So yeah, but I do really like them. I think that they would be obviously a really nice student grade paint, or if you're just starting out and beginning, because you get loads of colours. 24 colours in a set is a lot, especially if you're just starting out, and they're a really affordable option for just starting out, and you could probably get yourself some nice paper and you'd be ready to go. I also really like this paper, but here's my swatches when they're all dry, and you can see the Chinese white has got a bit of a shine to it. Also the crimson, the magenta and the purple. You see the little outline of like where the blooms are? Well, around the outline is where it gets quite shiny, and I just think that that is the binder. I do try and show you a little bit better by moving the paper here. So yeah, I don't think a lot of the like more professional quality paints do that. At least I haven't really seen it. Although I have seen it on my White Nights paints a little bit. That's probably because they are no Daniel Smith paints, for instance. I'm not sure if you would see this kind of reaction with those sort of quality paints. So something else I would probably question about these is the Lightfast information. On the packet it says excellent quality Lightfast, and most of the paints are 3 stars, which I'm guessing is the most Lightfast, but I would definitely question that and would not trust these paints to be Lightfast. Some colours probably, but others absolutely not. So yeah, great for some fun in a sketchbook. And speaking of sketchbook, this is such a lovely little sketchbook. I really like how it's not massive. So it's made out of 10 pieces of paper, which are, so you've got double-sided there, you know. So you've got 20 pieces of paper. So it'd be a really nice, easy little sketchbook to fill up, and it would be a great little holiday sketchbook to take with you somewhere away, a little travel sketchbook, you know. And I really like how it has the perforated edges as well on there, so with like each piece of paper you can use as the sketchbook, or you could use it as single pieces of paper and kind of use it as like a paper pad instead of a sketchbook. So I love the cover. I always like the Paul Rubens sort of style covers on their sketchbooks. I think they're really nice. I like how it has the gold foiling as well. That's really nice, and it's unique, isn't it, a concertina sketchbook. So I will be using both this sketchbook and these paints a lot more and experimenting with them a little bit, and I'll share like what I think about them after using them a bit more on this channel. So that's about it for this video, but if you'd like to see more of what I do on here, then don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment, and also don't forget to like this video because that really helps me. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've made it this far to the end, I can't even begin to explain how much you mean to me. Thank you guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!